Abdullah. I'm from Singapore. I study in Wolsey Hall Oxford doing year 3 and 4. We live near the sea and this makes us enjoy the nature along with my studies. A typical day for me would be studying, playing, swimming, and spending lots of time with my family. I study maths and English from year 4 and geography, science, and computing from year 3.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm 12 years old and I've been studying with Wolsey Hall since September in 2020. When I had an introduction to homeschooling during the first pandemic and the lockdown of schools, I found that I really loved the experience of learning from home. We wondered how we would be able to make this a reality and started to research all the different homeschooling providers and different methods of learning from home to see which one would work for me and my family. After much searching, we decided on Wolsey Hall and have never looked back.
Hello, welcome to the Wolsey Hall Homeschooling Information Webinar for primary levels of study. We have families joining us from all over the world today, so a big welcome to you all. I'm Tamara Onslow, Senior Admissions Officer at Wolsey Hall, particularly for primary levels. I'm joined here today by a number of colleagues, both from our academic and admissions teams, and they'll be answering your questions today. Just to let you know, we're recording this webinar and we'll send out a link of the recording to all of you by email in a few days' time. This will mean that you can re-watch the event and also share it with your friends and family. The format for today will be a presentation followed by a question and answer session. You may find that some of the questions that you have already are answered within the presentation, so please don't type any questions into the Q&A section until after the presentation has finished. Otherwise, we can't answer questions if they've been posted before the end of the presentation. Now I'd like to introduce you to Christine Armstrong, our Head of Primary, and she'll start the presentation on primary homeschooling with Wolsey Hall Oxford.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And just to echo my welcome to you all as well. So as Tamara mentioned, just going to spend a little bit of time giving you some information about Wolsey Hall and Primary and how it works. And then we'll move on to answering any questions that you may have. So just to start off, we thought it would be useful just to give you some context as to how Wolsey Hall works and what its structure is like. So as you can see, we've got two phases in primary. We've got lower primary and we've got upper primary. Now, lower primary consists of 3 year groups, really. It's getting ready for year 1, so kind of a pre-primary year, and also year 1 and year 2. So this phase typically is for 3.5 to 4 years old through to 7 years old. So it tends to be that kind of age group that are working at lower primary level. And we would always recommend that if you're using Wolsey Hall for your main kind of structure to homeschooling, that you take 3 subjects with Wolsey Hall, although there is no restriction to the number of subjects that you take with us. So our families have the flexibility to choose anything from 1 subject through to all of the subjects that we offer. But if anybody is looking to us for a recommended amount of subjects, we would suggest that your starting point in lower primary is to tackle the core subjects of English, maths and science. We then move on to upper primary, and upper primary consists of 4 year groups. So it's years 3, 4, 5 and 6. And each of these year groups, just like getting ready for year 1 and year 2 in lower primary, each of these year groups represent 1 academic year of study in a mainstream school. So if you were to take, for example, year 3 English, that year 3 English course would cover all of the curriculum content and objectives that your child would cover if they were in a physical school setting, taking the same curriculum type, so Cambridge and English National Curriculum. So in upper primary, these 4 year groups, years 3, 4, 5, 6, they represent really study from around 7 years old through to 11 years old if you were in a mainstream school setting. And at this level, if people were asking us for recommendation of how many subjects to take, if you are looking to Wolsey Hall to be the main provider of structure for your education, then we will be recommending 5 subjects. And within that 5 subjects that you have English, maths and science. That would be a running theme throughout lower primary, upper primary and lower secondary, is that we would always be recommending that you take English, maths and science as the core subjects. So as you can see, lower primary and upper primary, so our primary phase caters for kind of 3.5, 4-year-old all the way through to 11 years old. And then just to mention secondary, so you know where you'd be headed, we have 3 phases in the secondary part of Wolsey Hall. We have lower secondary, which covers years 7, 8 and 9. And again, each of those year groups represent 1 academic year of study. And again, we'd be recommending 5 or more subjects at lower secondary. And then we have our examination years. So we have GCSE and IGCSE. So just for your reference, I means international. So if you're taking an international GCSE or an IGCSE, it just means that it has a slightly more of a global outlook in its representation within the course and within the examination itself. And IGCSEs can be taken all over the world and can also as well be taken in the UK as well too. And this represents years 10 and 11. And the difference with these examination years is that they represent 2 academic years of study. So if you're choosing a GCSE or IGCSE subject, then your course will be a 2 academic year course, and it will lead to external examinations in your chosen subjects. And again, that's replicated at A level. A level represents years 12 and 13. It's 2 academic years of study for your course, and it leads to examinations at the end of it. So typically GCSE and IGCSE, just for your reference, if you were in a mainstream school, a physical school setting, you'd start your GCSEs at 14 and you'd take your exams at 16, and A levels you'd start at 16, you'd take your exams at 18, and your A level exams are your key exams that you use for application to university and college. So that's the entire journey, but today we're focused on lower primary and upper primary as our key area. So just to talk a little bit about how our courses work. So our courses are housed on our learning platform. And when you go into our learning platform, if you are enrolled on our courses, you will see your course itself. So in this case, this is Primary English Year 4. You will click into the course that you're enrolled onto. you will find all of the information you need. You will find your resources. You will find that it's split into 3 parts. And when you click into part 1 of your course, you will then see that there is clearly structured lessons for you to follow at home. It will let you know what resources you need. There will be videos, as you can see, in the course itself to assist with the learning at home, and there will be links to things you need. So that's the structure. So if you were to enroll with Wolsey Hall at the primary level, our courses are written really to the parent or the adult at home that's helping to facilitate the learning at home, and it helps to guide you through the learning with your child. So just to go into that into more detail. So what's included in that course that I just showed you? So there's a number of things that we put onto the courses to help with that learning at home. And the structured learning that you do at home, it's really comforting for our families to know that if they're working through the lessons and they're completing the content of those lessons, then they are covering the curriculum that they need to cover to make the progress required to end up eventually at those exam years when they move through into the secondary phase. So we help to cut out all the noise of learning to actually just provide you with what you actually need to ensure success further down the line for your child. So on the courses, to make it interesting, we try and mix online and offline activities. So where the course lends itself to it, you may be using a physical textbook as well. If that's the case, we will send those physical textbooks to you as part of your enrollment onto the course. So for example, we were just talking about English then. So on an English course, you may be getting a grammar book, or you may be getting some kind of activity book, or you may be getting a book to read. It depends on the level and the course itself that you're enrolled on. So physical textbook to bring you away from the computer sometime. As you saw in that example, there are videos on the course to help guide and to help support the learning. There are quizzes that you do at milestones on the course so that you can check the learning. You can do the quiz as many times as you want to as a child on the course, so we can check understanding. There are activities for you to do. You may also as well have a subscription sitting alongside the course. So for example, if you were on Year 2 English course, you would also then have a subscription to our Big Cat Books library, so that you have access to online books as well. So lots of subscriptions that overlay our courses to enrich them. And one key aspect of our courses, which you can see in the top corner there, is called assignments. And assignments are dotted throughout the course and at key points in the course. And these assignments are really important because the submission of your assignment via the learning platform is how your UK qualified teacher is going to assess the learning that is taking place at home. So just to talk more about that, I'm going to move on to the next slide to talk about the support that you have if you join Wolsey Hall. So when you enroll with Wolsey Hall, you have decided what subjects you're going to do. You have decided what level. So are you starting at Year 2? Are you starting at Year 1? And if you're not sure about where to start, don't worry, we can help. We can help to identify that starting point for you. But once you're enrolled onto the course, then the first person that you hear from outside of the admissions team is your student progress manager, who will be reaching out to help get you started. But the other key personnel is your tutor or tutors. And I want to mention them because they are tied to assignments. So as I mentioned, at milestones throughout the course, you'll have an assignment to do at home. Assignments can come in many forms. It might be recording your child read if you're on the English course. It might be the artwork that they have been doing at home. It might be a presentation. It might be a written piece of work. So an assignment can take different forms, but every 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, depending on the subject that you are taking, you will be asked to submit the assignment via the learning platform. And that assignment, when you submit it, goes directly to your tutor. Now, at the beginning of your journey with Wolsey Hall, your tutor will reach out to you and they will invite you to a welcome call so that they can meet you and get to know you. Following that, they are available on the messaging platform to send a message to any time if you need a bit of help, guidance, get stuck. But also as well, they are there to mark your assignment. And that's really important because all of our tutors are fully qualified UK teachers, and they will be looking at the work that your child has done at home. They will be marking it. They will be annotating, if necessary, on the work that you've submitted. They will be identifying the strengths that they can see in the work that's been done, and they will provide some next steps to help that development and that progress of your child. So you can be assured at home that your child is making the progress that they need to, based on the feedback that you're receiving from those tutors. They also as well offer a call. So once they've marked the assignment and they've given you the feedback, they ask you if you'd like to have a quick call with them online. And if you do, then they're very happy to meet you and just talk you through the feedback and give some tips and advice to continue making that lovely progress that they're seeing. So that's your tutors, and you may have multiple tutors. If, for example, you're taking 7 subjects with Wolsey Hall, then you may have you may have a tutor that is helping you with English, maths and science. You may have a tutor that's helping you with art and music, for example. So you could have more than one tutor. The other key person is your SPM, or Student Progress Manager, and you'd only have one of those. So as I mentioned, they're the first person that you meet online after you enroll, and they help you to get started. They make sure that you're understanding the information. They're making sure that you understand how to get onto the learning platform and that you know what to do. They also as well will be monitoring the progress from the assignments across all of the subjects that your child is studying. So if they're doing 5 subjects, your SPM will be checking the assignments are coming in, what kind of marks they're getting, what the feedback is telling them, and they'll be monitoring across all of those subjects that the progress is being seen for your child. And they will be checking in with you on a regular basis to see how you're getting on, see if you're okay, celebrate when they can see, fantastic work being shared from home, and to kind of just keep you on track with your assignments as well. So they help to put together an assignment schedule with you based on your circumstances and your needs. Now, the assignment schedule, it can be changed in those moments when it needs to be changed, but the assignment schedule is really helpful to help families just keep on track with that learning. As mentioned, in primary, every course represents 1 academic year of study, and you have access to the course for 12 months. And that 12 months is really important because the courses themselves can be achieved in around 7 to 9 months of study. But to factor in that not everybody can work continuously for 7 to 9 months, and people need breaks, just like you have in a school environment where you have terms and holidays. We give 12 months access to factor in that you need to take breaks as a family. You may have times of holiday, you may have times of sickness, and that 12 months access allows you to factor those in. Now, if within that 12 months, you need to change your assignment schedule, then that's okay. And your SPM can help make those changes as long as you're completing the course within that 12-month period. So you have those two key personnel who are supporting you on your journey. So it really is a partnership between Wolsey Hall, the parents or the guardians of the student, and the student itself. So just to mention, I won't go into details about these, but they are available on the website to see. But lower primary courses, we have, as you can see, English, maths, we have science, we have, that should be speaking and listening together. I can see it's been separated out, but we now have speaking and listening courses as well. We recognize that speaking and listening is a key development in acquiring the English language. So actually we offer speaking and listening as a course, but the course is actually made up of sessions, one-to-one sessions between a teacher and your child, if you were to choose that course. And that gives opportunity for your child to interact with and engage with a UK qualified teacher in terms of developing their speaking skills in the English language and also as well their listening skills too. So that's a great addition to our portfolio at both lower primary and upper primary. We have art, we have French, we have phonics, which is, again, phonics is useful for those that join us in year 2 and have missed year 1 with us, because phonics is actually going through the relationship between letters and the sounds that they make, which is absolutely critical in developing your English language skills. We have Skills for Life, which is a lovely, lovely course, developing emotional intelligence, developing your internal emotional skills as well as your external emotional skills, mindfulness. So it really is a beautiful course and develops all of those skills that one needs to be happy and healthy long term. And we also have humanities, and humanities is the study of both geography and history within one course. So we have some brilliant courses here for our younger students. And moving on to upper primary, again, we have lots of those courses mirrored, but you can see humanities is now broken into history and geography respectively, so you can do a deeper level of learning within those subjects. And we also introduce computing as well at upper primary. And we also have English as a second language. So we do have some students that look to join Wolsey Hall at the upper primary level of study, but they need to do some bridging with their English language skills to make them kind of course ready for their other subjects and to move on to English first language. But if you have any questions at all about our courses, our subjects, then our admissions team would be delighted to hear from you and talk you through any of these courses. So in terms of subject choices, just a couple of things I want to reiterate, and then we will move on to Q&A. So a student can take any number of subjects with Wolsey Hall. We don't have minimum requirements at all. We always recommend maths, English and science because they are deemed core subjects. Any family homeschooling is their main pathway. We would be saying 3 or more for lower primary, 5 or more for upper primary. And it really is depending on your needs at home and your interests as to how many subjects that you choose. It's also important to know you can add a subject at any time. So if, for example, you did start with English, math and science, and then in a month's time you decided actually we'd like to add art into the mix, then you are welcome to add art later on in your learning journey with Wolsey Hall. Just to reiterate as well, I've mentioned choosing your starting point with Wolsey Hall. It's really important to know that there tends to be 2 pathways that people take with Wolsey Hall. So one is mirroring their age equivalent year group if they were in a mainstream physical school setting. So, for example, if they were in a school and that is teaching Cambridge curriculum or English national curriculum, they would be in year 2. So therefore, with Wolsey Hall, they want to take courses at the year 2 level. We also have the option to go by your current level of knowledge and understanding. And that means that actually you can have different year groups for different subjects. So we have some students who might be, for example, year 2 age equivalent. So they are learning English at year 2 level with Wolsey Hall, but actually they are showing great understanding in maths. So actually they're not studying year 2 maths, they're actually studying year 3 maths because they have the capability to be studying at a higher level than their age would dictate. So again, we are able to help you with that and guide you to your starting point based on your requirements. And if it is more ability based, then we can help with checklists, we can help with some level placement checks online. So there's a number of different things we can do to help you find the starting point that might be right for your child. But also as well, in that we also have a 45-day guarantee. So we've got 45 days, which allows you to start on a course. And if you need to, you can move to a different level if you're finding it too easy or too difficult at home. So we're able to, within that window, it gives you long enough to try the course and see if it's working for you, and the opportunity to move if it's not quite right. So again, our admissions team would be delighted to talk to you more about how they can help to find the right starting point for you. So we always ask, how do we monitor that progress? So I've mentioned obviously the role of the tutor and the SPM in terms of helping with that, but people talk about, well, but what do we get physically? We love to have something to kind of demonstrate the learning that's taking place at home. So I just want to share with you a couple of things that we have in place. So one is certificates, and this, as you can see, is kind of student-based at the top here. So we have some certificates that we send to our students for completion of studies. So our courses are split into 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. So at the end of part 1, at the end of part 2, they get this, they get a certificate from us with Wolsey the owl on it to congratulate them on their success. We also have different types of certificates as well. So it might be for them showing fantastic effort. It might be that they're making great progress. It might be like this one, oh wow, just because we've heard something about the learning at home, or it might be something they do outside of Wolsey Hall is being shared, and we just want to tell them that we think that they are amazing. And at the end of your course, then the bottom certificate here is just showing you a slightly more formal certificate that you receive as a family, which is great evidence for your records of that completion of your course, your year group, and your subject with Wolsey Hall. We also have a couple of other things that are great for evidence of your studies. So one is progress report. So that's this first document you can see here. And a progress report is shared at the end of part 1 and at the end of part 2 and at the end of part 3. And they just give you a summary of the assignments you completed, the grades you got, and they are great to keep as records. And you also then get a formal end of year report as well, which covers all the subjects that you've studied for this period of home study with Wolsey Hall, what year groups they were, and your average grade that you've received in your assignment, so that you have kind of an official document from Wolsey Hall as well. And all of our courses are covering both English National Curriculum and also as well Cambridge too, where Cambridge provide that subject. So Cambridge don't provide all subjects, but if Cambridge do provide it as a subject, we also cover their objectives too in our courses. So just to say more broadly than just the academics, we're also interested in community. So we have a newsletter that goes out every month to celebrate our students and let you know what's going on with Wolsey Hall. We have a community website for all of our primary students, and our clubs are housed within that community website. And those clubs are things like Lego Club, Art Club, Book Club. And it's an opportunity for you to do something away from pure academics. And there is a challenge set each month in the different clubs, and you are welcome to have a go at any of those challenges. And we're always very happy to receive a photo of anything that you might have done at home around those challenges. And a couple of those clubs also have kind of an opportunity to come together. So for example, Book Club has a meeting once a month for students to chat about the book that they're reading. And the Art Club has a little meetup each month to talk through the skills and the artwork that they've been producing at home. We also have a Facebook community for our parents to come together in a space and to make those links with each other and to find other families who may be studying in the same location as themselves. So there's a whole range of things we do around the wider community too. So you can see there the primary newsletter, you can see our community site here, you can see our Facebook page here. So just to mention very briefly, we also do have additional support for families. Now, the Career and University Advisory Service and the Reference Service are things that you would need further down the line when you are reaching secondary. But of note for primary is that we have a learning support and well-being service. And this is a fantastic team of UK qualified teachers that also have experience and qualifications in special educational needs. And they work with a number of our families who are looking for some additional paid for services, both in terms of sessions for their child, or it may be that they are looking in a more consultative way, in that they are looking for opportunities to talk to experts in special educational needs to give them advice and tips and suggestions of how to move forward in a specific area. But over and above that, we also have a course which is support for learning, which everybody is added to. And this has great suggestions and ideas of how best to support your child at home. And for any children that have specific diagnoses or tendencies, there is some specific information and specific resources to help those families and those children. So we are really proud of the learning support service that we provide, and also the well-being service too. But there's more information about that from your SPM when you join us, and also as well the admissions team can tell you a little bit more about that. Right, so on that note, I hope that helps give you kind of a very brief, quick overview of primary and how primary works. I'm going to pass back to Tamara, who is now going to welcome your questions.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christine. I hope you found the presentation informative, and Christine has provided a very useful overview of Wolsey Hall Oxford and how it works at primary level. We'd now like to answer any questions you might have. So you can ask your questions by typing them into the Q&A area, which you'll find at the bottom of your screens. When you're typing a question, please include the age of your child, their level of study, and your country if possible. It just helps us to fine-tune the answers a little bit. We'll answer as many questions as possible in the time available. But please note, we won't be answering any questions specific to an individual child today. For these type of questions, please submit an inquiry form on our website, and the admissions team will get in touch to arrange either an online meeting or a phone call to discuss your child's studies in detail. we'll show you where you can find the inquiry form at the end of the webinar as well. So I just bring you back to Christine, and we will start answering some live questions today. But as I say, please keep questions coming in the Q&A section at the bottom as well. So question that's come in already is, do you support SEN children? So I know you touched on that earlier, but can we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do. We have a number of students with Wolsey Hall who are with additional needs of some description. And they find that Wolsey Hall and the structure of Wolsey Hall really works for them. Now, Wolsey Hall, we do not have online lessons. So instead of online lessons, like I showed you in the slide earlier, we have videos within the course itself. And this is really helpful for students with additional needs, because you are in complete control as a family of the pace of the learning at home and when the learning takes place. So you are completely free to create your own timetable that works for you and your family at home. So for students with additional needs, this is extremely helpful when you're putting together your program at home of learning. We also have an immersive reader function on all of our courses. So this helps with things like you can change the background color, you can do some text to speech if you want to. So there's just helpful tools that you can use as well. We have our course for all, our support for learning course. We have a learning support department that some of our students work with and some of our families work with. We work with local authorities and we work with schools to support students with EHCPs, so that we have a whole spectrum of students with Wolsey Hall with varying additional needs, from anxiety through to EHCPs, through to gifted and talented. So for a whole host of reasons, Wolsey Hall is a great choice for those with additional needs.
Brilliant, thank you. Do you have families using your courses alongside part-time or mainstream schooling?
Yeah, absolutely we do. So we have some that are using Wolsey Hall in its entirety, in that we are the main provider of that structure for their homeschooling journey. We have some that are in school part-time. So for a whole host of different reasons, they may be in school part-time. So they are taking specific subjects with Wolsey Hall when they are not in school. And we have those that are supplementing school. So those who actually are in school full-time, but they are doing 1 or 2 courses with Wolsey Hall to help supplement that learning. And it might be for a couple of different reasons. So it may be that they are just studying alongside as kind of an extra support for the learning and the content. It may be that they are restricted in school to their age equivalent subject information, but actually they are demonstrating that they could be learning a much higher level in a particular subject. So actually they are flying with Wolsey Hall alongside mainstream schooling and working at 3 or 4 levels above what they're able to in school. And we also have some where it's supportive. So although they are in, for example, year 4 in their physical school setting, they're actually taking English, for example, at year 3 with Wolsey Hall, because they need to consolidate some of that learning and they need to have the opportunity to go through and revise some of the content from lower levels of study, just to help boost them in that year 4 study that they're doing in a school setting.
Lovely, thank you. 2 similar questions have come in. What happens if a student fails a subject during the year? That's an upper primary child. And another question, is there a pass mark before they can move on to the next grade? That's a lower primary child.
So those are tricky ones in so much as there isn't one single answer to the question, to each of those questions, because there are other things in play and there are other things to consider. On each of our courses, there is on the homepage, at the bottom of the homepage, you will see that there is grade boundaries that give you an indication as to whether your child is working towards being where they need to be in that subject, whether they're working at the level or whether they are exceeding. And the grades that they're getting in their assignments will help you to kind of marry those up to see where they are. In terms of somebody moving on to the next level, it really depends on a number of different things. So if your child, for example, has really struggled with the level, then we do have circumstances where some people decide to actually redo a year group. So they actually want to purchase the course again at the same level, and they want to go through the course again so that they're kind of having like a second pass, almost like a revision pass at that particular subject, at that particular level. So in terms of moving on, the majority of our students are able to move on to the next level of learning with Wolsey Hall. We have relatively few that stay where they are. So it really is by conversation between Wolsey Hall and a family if there were any concern about moving on to the next level. And we do have the odd circumstances where actually it's proving that, or it's demonstrating that maybe Wolsey Hall is not the best pathway for a student. And I'm very happy and open to saying that in this forum and in this webinar. If Wolsey Hall had concern about this being the best method of study for your child, we would have those conversations with you as a family as well. But for the majority of our families and our students, then the progress that they're making with those support mechanisms in place means that they are fine moving on to the next level. So there's no specific passing level, but obviously if you are continuously working towards and falling very, very far underneath the bottom of the grade boundary, then we would have conversations with you about the best way forward. What was the lower primary one, Tamara? Sorry.
Yeah, so that was similar, just the
Was
pass
it
mark.
the same? Yeah.
So yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So a couple of questions again about how many hours per week are required for the courses. Obviously that varies slightly level to level.
Yeah, it does. I might bring Joe and Becky in just so that people can have a break from listening to me, because it's a nice question, because it really depends whether or not it's maths and English or whether it's one of the other subjects. But Joe, Becky as well, if you want to, or maybe Joe as a representative for both. Would you like to answer that question just so they don't need to listen to me anymore?
Of course, thank you. I can see Becky's busy typing an answer, so she may join us in a moment. So this very much depends on how many subjects that you take. So how many, that was the question, wasn't it? Because I was busy typing as well before we got called in.
Yeah, so the typical course is how many hours a week?
Yeah. So English, maths and science at upper primary, which is year ages 7 to 11, is I'd say about 2.5 hours per day. I often say to families, 3 hours is a really good number to have in your mind, so that because you might have a little bit of extra English, maybe some reading practice, maybe some handwriting practice. So English, maths and science, about 3 hours each day.
And I just clarify with that, Joe, you mean for all of them? in a
I
day,
do. I'm
not
sorry.
3 hours per subject.
No, absolutely not 3 hours in total. And during that time, you can obviously take breaks whenever your student needs it. So it may be that perhaps you've got a music lesson, or you're doing some sporting activity in the morning. And so you might not start that English, maths and science until after lunch, because that's what suits you on that day. Because Wolsey Hall is so flexible, you can wrap your students' learning around the time that you have available. And it's slightly less than that for lower primary, but again, you're able to have the lessons when they suit you. So if you were thinking about having English, maths and science, you obviously wouldn't start it at one time and not finish until the end of the 3 hours. You would punctuate that with breaks for your student, because learning on a one-to-one level is much more intense, obviously, than in a classroom situation.
Great, thank you. Is there any English requirement for the Getting Ready for English Year 1 course?
So we have level placement checks for all of our course entry levels, and there is a simple list that we would send to you, or you can find on our sample courses that give you the skills required to begin each entry level. So that should give you a good guide. We'd be very happy to discuss this further, though, on an admissions call, where we look at your child, your specific circumstances, and give our advice from there.
And just to say as well, what you can also do as well, if you go onto our website and you're looking specifically at a course, so for example, Getting Ready for Year 1 English, if you scroll to the bottom, there is a sample for that course. So if you look at the sample, it will kind of show you the type of things that your child will be doing at the beginning of that course. So the level of kind of knowledge that it would be expected that they have at the beginning. So there's two routes. One is to look at the sample, and also as well, feel free to make an inquiry, and our admissions team will be delighted to talk you through the skill set for any of our courses.
A tiny addition to that, Christine, there's a whole week of activities for you to try. So if you're not sure if this is right for you, we often recommend families work through those as a week, so that you can see how much the resources we provide, what you might need, how, if you feel you have the confidence, or if you maybe need to get somebody to help you. But that's a useful sample course to be able to understand what we provide.
Thank you. And final question, there've been again a couple that have said, can we reach out to families who live in the same country or region as us?
Absolutely, yes. Wolsey Hall really prides itself on being able to make connections for people. And if you reach out to Wolsey Hall and you have a conversation with a member of the admissions team, then they would be very happy to put you in touch with somebody local to you, so that you, separately from Wolsey Hall, can have a conversation with somebody who is using Wolsey Hall or has used Wolsey Hall, and see what they think about how it works, whether it suits them, what any local guidance is on homeschooling that you may need to be aware of. So yes, we'd be very happy to put you in contact with another family of Wolsey Hall.
Brilliant. Okay, there are just a couple of questions that are still coming in, but most have been answered, I think. One about returning to a mainstream school. Obviously, Christine has discussed the reports that we provide, so that's what you would use for that.
Yeah,
So,
and just to say on that does tend to suit schools, providing that information. We have schools, when you go back into a mainstream school, then the rule tends to be that the school reaches out directly to the provider of their prior education. So we do have a lot of schools that obviously reach out to us. Often it's your student progress manager. In the first instance, that's whose details you pass on to the school that you make application to. They reach out to us, and then we work to provide the information that they require for that admission back into a mainstream school setting.
brilliant, thank you. Well, that's all the questions. There's just one finally being answered online, I can see. But thank you very much for all of those. As I say, please get in touch with Wolsey Hall if you'd like to discuss your child's studies, specifically with one of our admissions officers. How you do that is you go to the website online, you click on Contact Us, you can see on the screen in front of you, and then there's a Submit an Inquiry button, which is blue, and our admissions team will then send you some course information specific to your child and your family's needs, and arrange, as I say, an online meeting or phone call. As part of that process, we will help you with the level placement checks and checklists that might help you to choose the subjects and the level of study in each of those. So finally, I'd like to extend a big thank you to everyone for joining us today. We hope you found the session useful and it's given you a good understanding of homeschooling with Wolsey Hall Oxford at the primary level. As I say, any further questions, please go to the website and our admissions team will be very happy to help. So once again, a big thank you and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you.